In my last video, I shared a walk through my recent sketchbook, which was a portrait spiral bound, and I was talking about how I had some challenges working across the spiral in this portrait format, but overall I really enjoyed the book. I loved the feel of it. I loved being able to bend the pages over, and I didn't mind at all working across the spiral. So I thought that the sketchbook I should use after this one would be exactly the same size. So this is 7 by 10 Alpha by Stillman and Byrne, and then this is the 10 by 7 spiral bound. And I thought it'd be fun to see how I went with this different format and to see whether the spiral got in the way as much and just overall how much I enjoyed it. So what I'm going to be doing is just flipping through this book and talking about how I used it, how I enjoyed it, and anything else along the way. So you can see automatically I'm still working across the spiral. This is part of the way I like to use sketchbooks, and the spiral definitely didn't get in the way as much in this book because I had a good size width to be able to work with, and then often I just extend it a little bit over onto the next page, but here I spread out over the 2 pages. Once again, spiral didn't bother me at all. So I actually really enjoyed working in this format. In many respects it makes sense that it would be much better for the type of sketching I do. I didn't find that the spiral was impacting in my composition like I did on the vertical book. And in fact, I'd have to say that there were very few occasions when I really was conscious of the spiral at all. This was one of them where I knew that the spiral was kind of going to happen right in the middle of the horizon there, but most of the time it didn't bother me at all. However, when I got about halfway through the sketchbook, I thought to myself that the layouts weren't as interesting because I'm basically putting one sketch after the other across the page, and I normally like to play with composition and placement of the elements a little bit more. So I kind of in a way got bored with this book because there wasn't as many options, and you can see I'm just a lot of double page spreads where it's just one sketch. So this is the New Village Green in Linfield, which is where I live. And so it was really fun the first week or so to be able to go and sketch it from different areas. I'm also going back frequently to Lane Cove National Park to sketch in the bush. I never actually finished this. I think I was going to draw a map there. Anyway, a few tips about windows. There's a blog post that accompanies that page, which I will link below. More bush scenes, bits and pieces. So you can see that the layouts are fine. I enjoyed it, but not as interesting because I didn't have the height to play with the combining the different elements. I think this one is an interesting spread because you can see that this sketch comes down here on the bottom of the page, and then this one is positioned up the top. So that was an interesting experiment, but most of the others, main sketch, a little bit over the spiral. And you can see that I'm just doing my usual sketching bits and pieces. As I said, lots of Lane Cove visits. Some days my spreads are not very colourful or exciting, but I'm documenting my life and the places that I go. And then the end of the book is all to do with the 1 week, 100 people challenge. And I will admit that a landscape book tends to work really well for sketching people. So here we go, a few more pages, and then towards the end we've got some more little people. So overall, this was a much easier book to use than the portrait format, but there's some things I like about this book. Compositionally wise, I feel like there's more options, so I could more easily play with vertical and horizontal in this book. Obviously there's a lot more vertical, but there are some horizontals somewhere. See, this is, okay, let me find a horizontal before I talk about that one. where's the page before? The Opera House. So, you know, I'm able to get the horizontals, but then because of the height and the layout, I can do more interesting compositions, which is a really important part of my sketching. That picnic table was no longer there. Always historic. Okay, so it was really fun to use spiral for 3 sketchbooks actually, but I was super, super happy to go back to my standard book, which is the 8x10 soft cover. And on the very first spread, it's not an exciting spread at all, but I just felt so happy because I had this great space, great proportions. It's like it's a landscape overall. I can easily cross the gutter, and I've got height to play with placement. And I was just so excited to be able to get back to my preferred sketchbook. And you'll see that immediately, just in these first couple of spreads, there's a lot more interesting things happening with composition. So once again, that idea of putting one sketch down and one sketch up in a spread and then putting text come through. These are some of demos from my foundations course. But see, I just feel comfortable with this. There's a lot of options, different ways I can lay it out, even if it's not an exciting page in terms of the sketching. There's still a lot of vertical emphasis, but I can easily do a double page spread, another one, more vertical, then something that's a little bit more horizontal. So it's the same paper, but it's been really interesting, you know, within a few month period to try different formats and to realise that, yes, my standard format, the 8x10, a bound book rather than the spiral book, is definitely the format that works the best for me, and so forth. So anyway, there's just a few thoughts on changing formats in my sketchbooks as I'm flicking through. And then right towards the end of the book, I did this one sketch where I coloured in coloured pencil, and that took me down a big rabbit hole using coloured pencil for a month. But I think that's something I can share with you in the next video. So what's your favourite format? I'd love to hear in the comments below. Horizontal, vertical, spiral, bound. I'd love to know. See you next time.